Welcome, everybody. Um, Announced a live stream about an hour and a half ago. I thought I'd just jump online and talk about some things that came across the news wires and stuff over the past week. This is more of a hopefully a shorter video. I don't go too long. Um, we're going to talk about, some things that came across the news wire, especially JFK. We had an announcement about the shooters of JFK. We also have things about George Soros that's coming out now, and we have Doge. Doge, or as they say, doggy or Doge, with Elon Musk and being made now a federal agency to really go after these people. And you have other people lining up against them and fighting back. And a lot of these judges and stuff who are fighting back are Biden appointees. And Biden was very friendly with George Soros, as a matter of fact. And so there's a lot of other stranger things out there with Obama and uh, and his puppets that went on behind the scene that's coming out. Things are beginning to be uncovered. So I just thought I'd just take some time to talk about this. And then in the live chat, which I'm going to put up here, we're going to go ahead and if you have any questions while I'm talking, go ahead because I'm going to present some things to you about the Kennedy JFK files that are coming out, as well as some of the other stuff. And if you have any comments or questions, just ask in the live chat or put in, if you're not on the live chat and you missed the live show, just put it in the description and ask some questions and put your comments down on what you think, because this is pretty much just open up for you guys who are watching and who guys who stumble across this and watch this, because there's other stranger things going on in the world, and a lot of people have a lot of different various opinions about it. So I'm going to open it up for that, and feel free to ask questions. We'll just go with it like that. So in the meantime, while people are joining in, I just want to wait a few more minutes. Just welcome, and just know that this is just kind of an impromptu live stream about some current events. It's really all that is, and it will go in any direction the Lord takes us. And so I decided to do this live stream for you all, and a chance for you to ask questions and to comment on the subject matter we'll talk about, as well as anything else that comes to your mind. So people are coming online. I'm glad you're all coming on. So let's kind of jump in here right now. I'm trying to bring that up. The JFK files have been released, like 2,500 undisclosed or declassified files have been released. And this lady who's in charge of this is Anna Pauline Luna. She was put in charge, and so 200, about 2,500 pages or so of secret documents and files that never been released are now released. And according to Anna Pauline Luna's statement on February 12th, 2025, there were two gunmen were involved, two separate guns, and there's various theories and scenarios about what happened. So you can ask some questions, put your stuff in the description or in there about the JFK assassination. In November of 1963, in Daley Plaza, the the JFK took a for some reason took a strange detour. They were supposed to go straight, but took a detour, took a right and then a left, and went down Daley Plaza in front of the uh, uh, books depository where they had classroom books and stuff. And a guy named Lee Harvey Oswald worked there. There's more stuff coming out about Lee Harvey Oswald as well. We'll talk about some of that as well. But the prevailing theories was that, it was a Warren Commission. I actually have a copy of the Warren Commission in a book, the entire thing. And when I read that and looked it over, and I have it somewhere, I don't know where it's at, it's buried in the books and boxes, because, yeah. because my wife and I were planning to move until she passed. So I'm just leaving everything alone right now. So I'm not going to try to drag out my books. But what is interesting, there are some questions that just didn't make sense in the Warren Commission. And is the magic bullet. Magic bullet went this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Anybody who's ever shot firearms and knows ricochets and how it can hit. Even if you hunt, you know how a bullet will hit and go through an animal. You just know what it will do. It doesn't go all over the place, this magic bullet theory. So there were several prevailing theories. One was that the mob knocked him off, had a hit on him. Others are suggesting something more sinister, and then people were talking about a gunman on the grassy knoll, and people noticed that there were very rapid firing. I can't remember how many shots were fired, 4 possibly, rapid succession, more than a bolt action gun can do, and from a moving target, it would be a pretty lucky shot to get uh, in there. He had to be a pretty good marksman, which Oswald was not at that time. He could have been trained, I don't know. But you had him in the backdrop before that, and you got to connect the dots. Kennedy gave his famous speech and kind of mirrored Eisenhower's warning about a military-industrial complex known as the deep state. And he was warning the news media not to be taken over by these people, but always to be critical of every politician, but don't choose sides, basically what he said, because there's a vast military industrial complex behind everything, running everything. It's Woodrow Wilson mentioned there was an unseen hand of government, and and we call it the deep state. And I think, when was the CIA formed? Can't remember, but the CIA was formed. I can't remember when. It was the 50s, probably. I can't remember. But the CIA was formed, and all of a sudden, we're seeing things uncovered. And and so, for those of you who are praying that the enemy's works will be exposed, keep praying, because they are. Because it's big news to know that Kennedy was actually shot by 2 separate guns, 2 separate people. So it wasn't from the grassy knoll, one from the book depository, and another from some other place, because too many shots were fired. That's for a bolt action Italian rifle to pump out that round. And then the way Kennedy was hit too, the first shot, and it's more than he got hit down here, and bounced, and Mr. Connolly was hit too in the elbow. So you have some incidents here. Now, one of the most prevailing theories is that somebody wanted him knocked off, and which is understandable. The mob would have, because his brother, Bobby Kennedy, who was also assassinated, was opening up the case against the mob. The mob was being wiped out in the United States, and all kinds of things were happening. The CIA, or the OSS, whatever you want to call it, back in World War II, collaborated with the mob, as well as during World War I, with the mob to 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 combat Germany, as well as um, go into Sicily and prepare for the Sicily invasion of World War II, and to make sure the Italians would surrender. And so that actually happened. So you have the OSS, who became the CIA, working with the with the mafia. So there's a book that came out that correlated those two, and that was pretty good to read. There's other stories out there. And then the lone gunman theory of Oswald doing it, which the Warren Commission sanctioned. And there was just too many things that went on. It is found out that, how would you say, would you just say that it has come out that Lee Harvey Oswald was would be working both sides. He was working for, I think it was the FBI. He could have been an informant, and he was playing both sides. He was getting information about the Communist Party and all that. The Bay of Pigs happened, and they tried to invade Cuba, and that fell out. The CIA did. That didn't go too well. They got defeated, and so you had this. So Oswald posed as a communist, and so that is coming out. And then they also said that he had some angst against Kennedy too. So he was involved somehow in this. And so they have a so you have a lot of World War II veterans and Korean War veterans there at Daley Plaza who've been shot at, and they know how to discern where gunfire is. When the gunfire erupted, they all started running toward the grassy knoll. And there were some reports of suspicious activity up there, which seemed to be Secret Service agents, allegedly. And so that's been whitewashed out. So they don't even consider the grassy knoll now. The other theory that came along was this: another shot was fired, because when the first shot fired, all the cars would speed up. This is more plausible. And then you have a car of Secret Service agents behind them. And as soon as the shots were fired, they would get their guns out, M60s, whatever they had. I don't really know what they had. And one of the guys, when the car went forward, it jerked, and he squeezed the trigger, and the shot was an accident, hit Kennedy in the back of the head, and killed him. So that seems a more plausible theory right now. So there were at least 2 shots that hit Kennedy, and too many shots were fired for one gunman to unload. And so you have all these different things. So just tell me what you think about it. Why do you think Kennedy was really assassinated? Was he getting ready to dismantle the deep state? Was he warning us about this deep state? He definitely did on live TV. So did uh, former President Eisenhower. He warned about it as well. Others have warned about this group of people, an oligarchy, unelected, bureaucratic, corporate, military, industrial, corporate complex that is ruling behind the scenes. So you have 2 presidents that warned about it. One was killed. And maybe the mob was involved in this somehow. I don't know. But Oswald was a player in it. And one of his things when he was arrested, he said he was a patsy, which would make sense, since he was kind of working both sides, getting information out. And so they set him up. And then, in order to silence him, they had another guy, Jack Ruby, who worked in a nightclub frequented by higher up in the police department. Dallas Police Department frequent his joint, his nightclub, strip joint, where you want to call it, and all kinds of players would meet there. And so he really liked Kennedy. And if you know how these people work, it's called plausible deniability. They can motivate somebody and supply the means for this person to get in there and motivate them to shoot somebody. And they can do that. They can program or brainwash people and make them do things that you normally wouldn't do, and open the door for them to be able to get into a high security area and bump off Oswald. And then if he got caught, he was a lone gunman and he wouldn't know anything, because everybody was mad about Kennedy being shot. So, anybody that was in on it, he would talk about, would be in the clear, and you would never hear about him. So this is pretty much how dirty pool is played. And in this is something that I think that Kennedy seems to be coming out. I don't know if the papers are going to show this, but this is speculatory right now. I just heard it. Is that he wanted to expose the deep state, because the deep state was planning takeover of the government in slow, separate stages, using at that time in the 60s the MLK ultra mind control, techniques, and they were experimenting at that time, as well as other brainwashing techniques. They were planning something. And so that was going to be unleashed on the American public. It's come out that that's true. The government, this deep state, is playing. They want to get rid of the Western society. And that's come out too. So I'm just putting things together and putting several pieces of a puzzle together, and you can just put it together yourself. I'm not saying that this is absolute truth. I'm just saying it's a hypothesis that's currently out there. I do not know what the files will tell us if it were revealed that much, because if it does, these people don't want that stuff out, and they will stop it at all costs. But I just find it very interesting how Kennedy was going to he was also going to get off. One thing he didn't like, what was it? There was something they wanted him to get off the gold standard, and he wouldn't do it. Okay, that was it. Something like that. And later Nixon got us off the gold standard to the Federal Reserve. So there was something going on with the money behind the scenes, American economy, that these people wanted to do, which obviously they did it through Nixon. But I digress, but that's just another point. So you got to put all these things together, and it's pretty shady. So say it was an accident and a Secret Service guy in a car bolted and his fingers on the trigger, and he fired and accidentally killed Kennedy. I mean, that could very well be. There could be a guy on the grassy knoll as well, because most of the veterans that were on the plaza ran up there, and supposedly, depending on whoever's testimony you want to read, even in the Warren Commission, there's some Secret Service guys up there or something. Go figure. The guy took off real fast. So whatever you think. But you got to know that Kennedy warned us about a deep state. And they were doing MLK, ultra mind control techniques and experimentations at that time. And I came across, and over the years, in the ministry and counseling and stuff, people who were victimized by that process a long time ago, and they're messed up. They were put in sleep deprivation tanks with water and stayed there, and they were kids, and they were experimented on. It's horrible. And these people got proof of it. Okay, these are the real deal. These are not some people who are just crazy and just making something up. They're part of a government system, and their parents willingly did this to them for a cash exchange. And so, when I talk to a few of these people, there's not very many of them, but I run across a couple, and what they did to them is incredible. And other techniques and drugs they used. And some of them talk about the laboratory down in somewhere, I think it's Denver location somewhere. There was a place, and they had laboratories where they have chimaras, mixed species and stuff, strange looking things, our body parts melded together. They didn't know what they were looking at in these jars. They couldn't tell what they were. I mean, who knows? They could be experimenting on something, and it would scare the kids, and they were traumatized from it, and they had to grow up in this. And so when they can become Christians, and this was quite a few years ago, 10, 15 years ago, and I met quite a few of these people around here that needed counseling and prayer for, and so that's what we did. I know that part's true. I talked to them. I've been victimized by that. And so, Kennedy was actually warning. And he also didn't want to lose the gold standard, which he kept us on that. And but they had plans later to get us off of it, to get us on, to control our money. And so in the process, Kennedy would be more like a Republican now. He would be on that stripe. He would be that stripe. And he's the one that developed trickle-down economics, cut taxes, increase productivity, do what's right for the American people so everybody can prosper. He also had another thing going against him, is that he was the civil rights movement. Most of you don't know what racism is. I don't care, what these people who pontificate, they know what racism is, and we have systemic racism everywhere. No, we don't. I grew up in the South, in Virginia, Northern Virginia. And then I spent my summers either in the Shenandoah Valley or down the southwest corner of Virginia. And I grew up in an era and time where, when I was a kid, the actual racism and segregation was a real thing. And when I was a little kid, I got in trouble and yelled at because I drank out of a colored water fountain because I didn't know how to read. The water tasted the same to me. And and that ended rather quickly, but you still saw the signs on there, water fountains, coloreds only, and all that. Horrible time. And so the segregationist wanted to get rid of Kennedy because he was also a Catholic. And so you have and there was one particular man they were investigating because things were pointing at this individual who a lot of Pentecostals worship. And he is, if you know who he is, that he was a member of the Klan. He was a devout segregationist and racist, and he hated Catholics. And he made it known how much in his private talk how to get rid of Kennedy. And since he was involved with the Klan, in fact, his mentor, Roy E. Davis, was the head of the Ku Klux Klan in 1915, and they did this big, huge parade down Pennsylvania Avenue in D.C. I know about that because in school I wrote a report, big research paper for elementary school, I guess, on the probably fifth or sixth grade, on the Ku Klux Klan, and nobody, when I was growing up, everybody hated the Klan. I mean, and we grew up in a time when we hated this stuff because it's bad news. And we even had a teacher that was part of the Klan, and the students would sabotage his car, or we'll give him a hard time. Just put it that way. And so this guy's name is William Branham. And so then he was investigated as part of the conspiracy to get rid of Kennedy because he was vocal about bumping him off. Now, he was exonerated from that. He probably had nothing to do with it, and he probably was mouthing off. But you got to understand, he was a staunch segregationist. He did not like the idea of interracial marriages or whites and blacks mixing. And this guy named A.A. Allen, no matter what you think of A.A. Allen, this healing evangelist or revivalist, or you want to call at that time period, had interracial meetings. And he had blacks and whites singing in the choir, Hispanics. Everybody was welcome. This guy was groundbreaker because everybody could come. And Branham didn't like that. He was also investigated for the death of A.A. Allen, which he was exonerated from. He probably had nothing to do with it, but he was very vocal about it. And they kind of had some evidence that the Klan was involved, and because he had a drinking problem and he had cirrhosis of the liver, which is verified through medical stuff. But evidently, the idea is that somebody injected him or drugged him up and pumped alcohol into him or made him drink it in a hotel room because the hotel room was disheveled or something like that. Now, he could have done it, I don't know, but it was just under suspicious circumstances. So when you have racism that strong in people, you have the Klan, who also did not like Kennedy. Were they involved? I don't know. Could have been, because they didn't like Catholics either. And William Branham did not either, okay? Don't fool yourself. William Branham is not who you think he is. If you found out his racist ideology and did some research on him, you come away with a different picture. You will. And I know there's a lot of William Branham fanatics out there who just think that he's the apple and the ice cream of the cake or whatever. He's one of God's generals. No, he is not. He thought he was Elijah the prophet, and he had a great new revelation coming up. And he died in a car wreck arguing with his wife. He drifted over in the other lane. He was abusive, verbally abusive toward her. Says a lot too. And he ran headlong and he died. His family survived the crash, but he died. And because he thought he was Elijah the prophet, you know. And he's married under a pyramid, a Rosicrucian pyramid, if you want. I mean, what do you call it? There's two separate Masons groups. There's the Scottish Rite and the York Rite. They suspect he was more inclined to the York Rite because he always talked about his best friends were Masons. He attended as a guest to the female version of the Masons, and I can't remember the name. The Eastern Star, the Daughters of the Eastern Star, and he talked about meeting in those places. He even said that his famous end of time prophecy was given over yonder in the Masonic Temple, which is now a church. And so, but it was at the time he gave the prophecy in the Masonic. So there's so many things about that guy, but I'm not trying to talk about William Branham. I'm talking about Kennedy. But those were the theories. You got Branham, the KKK, and racist, and the mob trying to get rid of Kennedy because of his stance on civil rights. You don't know how these people think. Governor George Wallace of Alabama was a devout racist, segregationist. He was shot and put in a wheelchair, and he changed his tune after that. So I grew up in that time frame as a kid, and I know what racism really is. Okay, so don't ever think that we have such racism in the country. We don't. We're having reverse racism now through a certain group of neo-Marxist people, which. But anyway, when you, I digress. But when you think of Kennedy, what do you think of happened to Kennedy? What do you think of Kennedy? What do you think he got assassinated for? Was it the deep state, as we call it today? Was it an accident? We know there are two separate guns used, two different weapons used. We know that multiple shots were fired. I can't remember. I think how many, 4 or 5. And we know that Lee Harvey Oswald probably did do some shooting. We don't know for certain because all the evidence they seemed to find the evidence and they came up with the conclusions rather quickly and knew who Oswald was because he was involved in this. And so they made him the scapegoat and the patsy, I guess. And he could have been involved in the shooting. He had the evidence. They had the evidence and stuff and all that on him. But was he part of a more diabolical plot? Or was he involved in it, but he didn't do the shooting? Was he the spotter? Calling out the code to somebody or something. Nobody knows. Nobody knows for sure. All those are conjectures and conspiracy theories and stuff on the matter. But I find it interesting that, what's her name again? Anna Pauline Luna was put in charge of this commission and declassifying these documents, and 2 gunmen were involved, which speaks of conspiracy. No matter how you shake it, there was conspiracy. And see, I'm trying. Yeah. Kennedy was getting ready, Joy, to do away with the Federal Reserve, in charge of the gold supply. And one of the things they wanted Kennedy to do was get off the gold standard. And so, if you know about Keynesian economics, which I did a a teaching on, and I'll do this real quickly here, on Keynesian economics. Mr. Kinsey got his economic plan in World War II, working for the British version of the secret thing, and he found this Nazi plan, a Nazi financial plan by two people. One was Walter Funk, and the other guy did not want to do this, and I can't remember his name, and he got fired from being the Nazis' financier in charge of the finance. So they got this Walter Funk, whose idea was to um, tax and spend your way to prosperity to keep socialism alive. You got to print the money. In other words, what the idea of it was, you take over countries and you put everybody on the same currency. Everybody's in a one currency thing. If you took over the world, everybody would be using German marks. So therefore, you could print endless sums of money to do whatever you want, because nobody would get the wiser, and you can keep inflation down. You can do all this stuff, be plenty of money and all that stuff around the world, and you can control people with a one world currency. That's basic Keynesian economics in the most simplistic, broad brushed way. There's a lot deeper than that. I don't have my notes in front of me, but that's the basic plan of the Nazi financial plan, was putting everybody in a one world hard currency. That's not going to work, because you have to put everybody under a digital currency to make that work. Interesting enough. So the Federal Reserve would have been involved in this idea as well. So Kennedy had reasons to not want to do the Federal Reserve, and he wanted to get rid of it. Yeah, he did. And that was be one of the industrial complexes, the financial industrial complex. So, man, it's crazy. And the things about this, and it just begins to make sense that Kennedy had enemies in the government, who would use KKK types or whatever as a screen to mask their plan to get rid of Kennedy, to keep the Federal Reserve, and eventually get off the gold standard, which they did with Nixon. And so you mess with the deep state, they get rid of you. I mean, that's just pretty much what you said. You have two presidents warn about this. So I just thought that was interesting. So I'm just looking at some comments here. Yeah, MK Ultra, MLK, or MK Ultra. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're talking about MK Ultra. Yeah, I've counseled some people who were actually kids at the time going through that, and they're adults now, and we prayed for them and counseled with them, and they would tell us about it, and we had them talk, and it's terrible what they put those kids through. Yeah, and let's see. Okay, then we have here, Ren says, Dorothy Kilgallen was the only one that interviewed Ruby without any microphones or anything recording. Once she was done, she said she was going to blow the whole Kennedy thing wide open. And shortly after that, she died. That's a matter of fact. And shortly after she died, I think they found her murdered. And Ruby somehow contracted fast-acting cancer, which could be fed to him through food in the prison. And so there are some very suspicious things here going on. And Ren's right. According to Army report in 76, I think Allen Dulles brought enough LSD acid tabs to dose half the United States. That's true. And they got an airport, Dulles Airport, named after the guy in there. And some of these guys are theosophists. Helped found the UN. Go figure. How come everything seems to connect to theosophists at the UN, helped founded the UN, with the same principles in mind? It's just interesting. It's just interesting how it all connects back to that. And okay, let's go. What else did Ren say? Okay. Um, okay, Jackie, we're going to pray for Jackie about her chemo on Monday. Okay, that your insurance gets improved. We'll do that. There are two Oswalds in the school book depository that day. Oswald doubles were used. May Brussels researcher met one of them in the 70s. There's another thing that came up too. I didn't have a chance to get real detailed. The 26 volume full report is what people need to buy, and it's very expensive, and only 8,000 copies exist. hmm And yeah, it's a shadow government. Yeah. Wait until they open the RFK files and find out that Eugene Thayer Caesar is the real killer. View and the second gun by Ted. Yeah. All that stuff was going to come out, man. It's got to come out. People need to know what's going on. Yeah, he was a security officer. I read about that. He drew his weapon, dropped to the floor, fired his weapon when he was standing directly behind Kennedy. Newsman witnessed said this was suppressed. Yeah. So be careful, Brian. I might dump info all night on conspiracies. I know a lot. I know you do. I'm trying to watch my words because I'm trying to, there's a lot of them out there. And yeah, Oswald's mother said he was a CIA agent, and other people are now coming out that he did work for the FBI. So he was in the intelligence community, and he seemed to be uh, some type of double agent. That's coming out, reports as well. I just thought it's just interesting, and I just hope all this information gets out because it really does. And and Oswald was a patsy, you know. I, you know, to me, it just looks like a setup. And maybe I'm a little biased for my own reasons on that, but it just looks like a setup. Because, like I said, when I was running in the world as a heathen and doing the drugs and stuff, I had FBI agents wanting me to turn somebody in, have them break in, and me help them break into the where I was working at, and then I'd be arrested. But they would protect me, right? You know, I'm not going to snitch on these people. I told the guy, don't break in. You got to snitch in the mix, and and I backed away from that thing. These people are mean, they're forceful, and they're intimidating. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see. What was it? Okay, okay. And he had no against Kennedy, let alone John Connally. He actually wrote a letter to John Connally, I think, for a letter recommendation for a job, if I can't remember which. Yeah, there was something about that. I just don't remember either. And so, and also, this was even more telling. They didn't even tell him what he was arrested for, nor bring him up on charges of murdering the president. This is a matter of fact. That's why we have the Miranda rights. I don't know when the Miranda rights came in. I think it was somewhere in the later '60s, upper '60s when the Miranda rights were. Could have been. I have to look it up online. I think it's '67 or '68 or '69 when the Miranda rights came in. So technically, they didn't have to. But yeah, he wasn't told. So yeah, so basically, no law was broken back then because of that, because he didn't have the Miranda rights or something like that. I can't remember all the details. And yeah, and how and all this stuff did. Yeah, yeah. And the Canadian singer Leon Cohen was subjected to sleep deprivation and sensory deprivation experience at McGill University in '58. And there's a photo of him. Yeah, there was I talked to some people who were young kids put into this deprivation tank filled with water and subjected and drugs and all this stuff to it blow your mind what these people were doing. This was in Denver, Colorado, in a place. Just man, yeah. So Yep, NK Ultra. Yep, yep. And there's talk about, and this is not proven, but there seems to be enough evidence. And you mentioned something here about this guy, poor Leonard, when he was one of the first manufactured celebrities out there. And he goes on, read the lyrics to the song "The Future," written in '92. He could be very well seeing about today's events. Sounds the same. A lot of the music industry people all come out. They start innocently, and they come out um, to be very deeply embedded in certain occult ideology, and openly, brazenly so. Who was Taylor Swift sitting to next to when they got booed? no one's. I think that was a gal, was a Satanist or something. I can't keep up with all this stuff, but the people start out fine, and then all of a sudden something happens to them in order to be big, and it seems like the music. And I can't remember. Someone asked me this question: what was the resonant sound that would be used to thing? I did a video on that, and I discussed that also, and it's a low resonance sound, and they deciphered that by the use of, they found a temple complex with little holes in the wall where you shout through and play instruments. It would muffle it and come out with low resonance, and as people were going through there, the vibrations alone would make them have religious experiences, and they could connect to things and stuff like that. And so a lot of the music out there is chaotic. Um, it's nasty. It doesn't have a good message behind it, an image behind it either. And the whole thing seems to be geared toward destroying culture and society and Western civilization. Interesting, which goes back to the deep state. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. JFK was going against the people who got him into office. Viva Joseph Kennedy. Joseph Kennedy and the mob, as well as known. So there's a lot of connections there. We just have to wait and find out. It's interesting. Okay. On another note, Ren, we pray for you that you have Phoenix to Tucson. We'll pray that we all arrive safely. Amen. Pray that for you in Jesus' name. And for Jackie, that her chemo and her expenses can be paid and insurance will come through, and that she be totally healed of this cancer as well in Jesus' name. Okay. Oh yeah, another thing. I was watching a video on the Vietnam War, and it's currently, I think it's on Apple TV or something. I can't remember where it's at, but it says Kennedy didn't want to escalate the war in Vietnam. He did not. He was against it. The military industrial complex wanted it, and so did Lyndon Johnson. I just heard that in this video, and I watched it about 3 days ago. So yeah, that is true. He wanted, it's also well known. He didn't want to escalate the war. He wanted to get the people out of there. In fact, he was saying, "I want to get these people out of here because I want to get all our advisors out because this is not going good." Oh well. Yep. Yeah. So there. Yeah. Okay. There's another one. They also said Martin Luther King Jr. was a womanizer and committed unnatural acts, if you know what I mean, that he had a baby with another woman somewhere. Um, and yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but it probably is. It could be. We don't know because what people don't know about Martin Luther King, actually, he was a how would you say it? He was a follower of Friedrich Engels, who knew this guy named Karl Marx, and he was using the create critical theory, basically, um, to bring down racism. Okay, and so yeah, so I won't get into all that, but that's another thing that people don't know about him. But anyway, I'm not going to go anywhere with that right now. And yeah, we'll just keep praying for you, Jackie. I just want to see you healed. I just want you to get healed in Jesus' name. I really do. And I just want you to have the money and the insurance to come through, however God chooses to heal you. Just pray that you get totally restored in Jesus' name. Everybody continue to pray for Jackie. Well, let's go on to the next subject. I didn't want to take all the time on the different series. So just tell me, there's various theories and scenarios about the Kennedy assassination. Right now, nobody knows the truth. There's enough truth coming out. The facts as they stand now, there were 2 gunmen involved and not 1, which makes it a viable conspiracy, or an accidental shooting from the Secret Service agent in the other car. When the car jerked forward, he fired. That was one of the theories, and most plausible one that seems to be, or the grassy knoll. Also you have those veterans who knew where the gunfire was. They ran up there. They were going to kick butt. They weren't afraid. They've been in combat, and they knew what they were up against. And so they were going to, but evidently there were some people there that were of the federal government types. Okay, and then we have Pure Mississippi. Please pray for me. I think I'm dealing with food poisoning. Heavenly Father, we just thank you right now for Pure Mississippi. We just ask that this food poisoning, whatever they got, virus, be gone and quickly gone, and they'll recover quickly in Jesus' name. Yeah, a lot of that going around. Yeah, Jackie says, healing will come, healing will come. So with all this, let's just continue on with the next subject here. George Soros. George Soros. Where should I begin about George Soros? And, George Soros and Kennedy are not connected. Okay, I'm just saying. I just thought it was interesting on January 4th, and I never got a chance to mention it, that President Joe Biden back then awarded George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom, sort of like the Medal of Honor, for his lifetime work helping to create a more just and free societies. Joe Biden was in with this group who wanted free, equitous society, and he liked George Soros, and they were friends, so to speak. But according to Joe Biden, they were friends. That could be a lie too. You never know. But anyway, they knew each other, and there's some videos out there that shows their relationship too, and they did know each other. But anyway, Joe Biden awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is very strange. But happened 2 days before uh, he he would be out of office. So it would be 16 days before uh, President Trump would be sworn in. And he did all these pardons and stuff, and gave this Medal of Freedom, to George Soros for creating a more just and free societies. And that absolutely makes no sense to me at all. Soros, and now his protege, his nephew, I can't remember his nephew's names. Their policy is one of deconstruction, uh, the destruction of Western civilization, the destruction of the United States of America. It seems to be the same kind of deal that this invisible hand of government had a hand in many years ago with Kennedy as well. The destruction of the United States, flipping it over to a new form of government that's acceptable, and raising up other forms of government that are more favored, to have the business world go over there so they can make cheaper products with basically cheap labor and slave labor and child labor and no pollution standards to make their products. And everybody could be happy. And also that form of government system that they love so much would be a blend of fascism and Marxism, because communism can't work without fascism mixed into it. Economically speaking, it won't work. They need each other, and that's the Communist Chinese Party form of communism, is a blend of fascism and communism, which once you get out all the kinks, Alice Bailey would say that they're looking for is a spiritual communism to rule the world. Okay, so you have George Soros, who wanted destruction of the Western civilization. He champions the Marxist degrowth leftist Keynesian, not the Keynesian, but the degrowth leftist agenda on how to destabilize a nation. And the deep state knows all about destabilizing nations. And this was on the news not too long ago, how, a few days ago actually, how our own government uses different techniques to destabilize a nation in order to take it over. They have a lot of practice in different countries doing this, and they've been doing it to us for the last, 8 years or so, or even more. Probably back in Obama's day or even Bush's day, they probably started it. It's a very slow process, and use various techniques in order to do that. And George Soros was instrumental in this movement to destabilize things. And so he was all about destroying several nations beforehand. The UK is one of them, as well as some other countries. He destroyed their financial capital systems, just exactly what the Nazis wanted to do, to get everybody on a one world currency. George Soros and now his nephew implanted hand-picked leftist DAs nationwide in counties and cities across the nations, most populous too. He's also responsible for helping select leftist federal judges nationwide as well. So they worked with Biden in order to do that. This is where criminals walk free, and you get these wacky laws where you can shoplift as long as you keep it under $900, $950, you're okay. Just walk and take whatever you want. And so it's all about destabilizing things. Have an open border when people invade your country. And so basically, it just wants to destroy everything. And this is a preconceived plan. This is a tactic which the deep state or these groups practice to destabilize other nations and other countries for years. We're happen now, interestingly enough. And also, George Soros is behind the mainstream media. Most of the mainstream media have contracts as well on Mr. Soros, with contracts with Soros, that they can't talk bad about him. They can't reveal anything about him, and they have to cover for him, basically, or he's going to take their money away from them. Okay? Now his nephew's there taking over for him. If they violate it, then the Soros foundations will sue you, for breach of contract. So George Soros wrote a very interesting book called The Alchemy of Finance. You heard that right? The alchemy. What is the word alchemy? That's you can't have alchemy without hermeticism. Interesting enough, but Alchemy of Finance. It's a strange name. And here's a quote from it, and I'm going to go over here to bring up this slide. Here's a quote from it. George Soros on The Alchemy of Finance. Scientific method seeks to understand things as they are, while alchemy seeks to bring about desired state of affairs. That's alchemy. That's hermeticism. That's the language of it. Okay? Alchemy seeks to bring out a desired state of affairs. To put it another way, the primary objective of science is truth. That of alchemy is operational success. Science is to uncover truth by experimentation, and you have, and the end result, you believe what the experiment is. This doesn't work. Marxism doesn't work. This Keynesian economic system does not work. But to the alchemist and this weird thinking of being able to control everything, the theory, operational theory, is correct. So that will supersede anything science, because you will transfer um, what is true into what is not true. Basically, you can turn lead into gold. It's not so much turning lead into gold, it's the idea that you have something solid and you can get it into some golden-headed dream, and the golden-headed dream now becomes the reality through operational success. You never give up, never admit that the theory is wrong. Just people get it wrong. And once everybody gets on board and gets it right, and everybody becomes a collectivist, and then we in this perfect world. Interesting enough. Whoops. How did I bring that up? Where in the world did that screen pop up? You guys didn't see it, so I hit the wrong thing. Okay, to put it another way, the primary objective of science is truth, and that of alchemy is operational success. I start from the position that every human endeavor is flawed. If we were to discard everything that is flawed, there would be nothing left. We must therefore make the most of what we have. The alternative is to embrace death. I'm laughing because I know where this is going. The choice is a real one because death can be embraced in a number of ways. The pursuit of perfection and eternity in all its manifestations is equivalent to choosing the ideas of death over the ideas of life. Wow, he's talking like a hermetic and Gnostic. If we carry this line of argument to its logical conclusion, the meaning of life consists of the flaws in one's conceptions or what one does about them. In other words, alchemy is operational success, what one does about them. So basically, you're going to have operational success because life is flawed, and you can use people's flaws and pit them flaws against each other to get what you want, to have operational success, to create a perfect world of collectivists. I just thought that was fascinating when you look at what he was saying. And then he goes on, he says this: life can be seen as a fertile fallacy. If we carry this line of argument to its logical conclusion, the meaning of life consists of the flaws in one's conception and what one does about them. Life can be seen as a fertile fallacy. What in the world is a fertile fallacy? Lo and behold, I have to go back to college and find out this stuff under the law of fallacies. But I think it went by a different name back when I was in college. But in other words, okay, what's a fertile fallacy? A fertile fallacy is a statement or idea that appears on the surface to be true by the accusations or statements and arguments and narratives that are made. Though it lacks reality, objective veracity, and truth, it is received instead as the absolute truth, the subjective. So a fertile fallacy is turning objective reality into subjective reality, the operational success, if that makes sense. And James Lindsay stated this: a fertile fallacy can be understood as a lie that has legs. I like that. And will accomplish a manipulative function for the architect of the fallacy. So, in other words, it is a lie. It is a narrative that manipulates people into accepting a lie as a truth. For 4 years, we've been subject to this fertile fallacies. Men can have babies. There's more than one gender. And we need to let the criminals go free in the street because you don't understand them. They have rights, you know. You believe in the dignity of man, but if you really believed in the dignity of all human beings, then you would have dignity for the criminal and understand his plight, that you are the oppressor. You have what he has not. He's just taking it because he needs it. And you're the problem. We have an operational success to make an all-loving and wonderful world. But in order to do it, we have to burn the system down in death and destroy it. And then so we can build it back better. Okay? With that idea, The scientific method, as George Soros and Alchemy of Finance says, seeks to understand things as they are, while alchemy seeks to bring about the desired state of affairs. To put it another way, the primary objective of science is truth. That of alchemy is operational success. I start from the position that every human endeavor is flawed. If we were to discard everything that is flawed, there would be nothing left. We must therefore make the most of what we have. The alternative is to embrace death. The choice is real because death can be embraced in a number of ways. The pursuit of perfection and eternity in all its manifestations is equivalent to choosing the idea of death over the idea of life. That is Hermeticism. This guy's a Hermetic. he's he's a whacked out dude. Okay? When everybody becomes and the shards of God are put back together and you realize you have a divine spark of God and you are created to be a whole collective unity. You all think alike, smell alike, and everybody embraces, everybody loves each other. You become the Holy Spirit, and then God can be put back, the God the Father can be put back together and make this brave new world. But it has to die, has to be destroyed. It's order out of chaos. As above, so below, through synthesis and dialectical arguments, through falsehood, lie, fertile fallacies. A fallacy, you plant it in the ground, it's fertile ground, and you keep watering it and keep telling people that men can have babies. And how dare you not let men use women's bathrooms who want to dress like women and expose themselves to little girls in the gymnasium. How dare you do these people have, oh, yeah, fertile fallacies, and so it silence you, and you have what is called mass psychosis in the population. This is MK Ultra. Mass psychosis is used. I wish I had the. I didn't. I have some documents on mass psychosis and some people who studied it. And what mass psychosis do? You want to get people in a state of mass psychosis and paranoia, so you can control them, so they believe the lie and the narrative, and you have operational success and endeavor to create this perfect world. So let's go back and keep going to what he's saying. Whoops, wrong page. Is to embrace the choice is a real one because death can be embraced in a number of ways. The pursuit of perfection and eternity and all its manifestations is the equivalent of choosing the idea, the operational success of death over the idea of life. So, you can create a brave new world through chaos, is what he's saying. If we carry this line of argument to its logical conclusion, the meaning of life consists of the flaws in one's conceptions and what one does about them. Life can be seen as a fertile fallacy where you can tell men have babies, that criminals need to go free on the street. You got the only way to get a new world is to create as much chaos as possible. You have many minions, and as I keep using this chart because it's so prevalent, the very few at the top manipulate the bricks below, because the devil unfavor their undertakings to create this new order of the age. To carry this line of argument to its logical conclusion, the meaning of life consists of the flaws in one's conceptions. So you believe in the dignity of man, you believe in free speech. Well, we do too, but sometimes, but if you can't yell fire in a movie theater, that's against the law. How can you have free speech? Because we have morals. You think your morals are better than the thief's morals? You really think, so this is a circular argument. So they just plant thoughts in your mind and keep watering it until you have a psychotic break and you become a zombie, so to speak. And you're like, whatever you say, man. So whatever you say, uh, make the beating stop. Make the beating stop. I give up. I give up. Men can have babies and all this stuff. You end up believing a lie, fertile fallacy. That is George Soros. Okay. And like he said, if we carry this line of argument to its logical conclusion, the meaning of life consists of flaws in one's conceptions. So if you believe in free speech, but off speech should not be free because it contains misinformation. So we have a right to censor you for misinformation because you go against our narrative, the operational idea that we can create a perfect world, and we control life and death, and we can turn lead into gold if you just shut up and surrender your free speech, because we believe in free speech, but everything you say is misinformation. No, it's not. It's factual. I got data. I got proof. Your data is wrong. Our data is right. Your truth is your truth, but our truth is superior to your truth. So we control the narrative. We have the money. We can make you comply because we have one world currency. And if you don't agree with us, we can shut you off. We need to control you because you peons don't know how to live right. You don't know how to be good serfs. We don't need as many of you as you need of the elites. The elites are immune to everything, but need a few serfs to keep them going and happy. But the rest of you are just peons and taking up. You're worthless eaters, and we just need to kind of get rid of you to make this perfect world, because you don't understand the higher secret knowledge behind everything, that we can have a golden-headed dream of world domination, control, top down, bottom up, if we control everything to silence misinformation. So we believe in free speech like you do, but we're looking for misinformation that perverts free speech. So we have a right to take your free speech away, because even if you tell the truth, it's because it doesn't go with our narrative. So we have to get rid of you. I hope that's good enough explanation for you. Been subject to that for a long time. So the goal is of alchemy or Gnosticism and this type of stuff, is to destroy a nation, destroy the Judaic Christian influence on morals of right and wrong, and make a fertile fallacy out of these. So you believe in love. If you believe in love, then why don't you have drag queen hour in your churches? Why don't you embrace these people? So you're not really loving, are you? Has God really said? Did the Bible say not to say? Did the Lord God say you are to love everyone? You don't love everyone. How could God be all loving when he says that these people are to be turned over to a reprobate mind and they're going to hell? How could God be loving? God said he's love. How could he be loving if he's going to punish people? That is a fertile fallacy. Get wrong thinking about God, because God's love governs his justice governs his love, because there's good and there's evil. And when you do certain sexual acts, you create diseases. It'll hurt everybody in the long run, like it's doing rampant in Africa with AIDS. You're not confined to one set of sexual preference now, it's everyone. Look at the history of venereal diseases if you don't believe me. Kill, rob, and destroy. So in order to create this hermetic world, of this perfect world where everybody gets along and loves each other, just like Gnosticism, a brave new world, ride your magic carpet, it's a brave new world, everybody's loving each other and embracing each other, and sounds great, but the goal is destroy the Judaic-Christian system, the morality of right and wrong, objective reality. It's all about the destruction of reality. That is the operational success, to create a new reality out of your idea of this perfect world. That is George Soros. George Soros' goal is to make a new world by changing history, which is a goal of Marxism. Now, I got to be fair. George Soros is not what you call a Marxist. He hates communism, okay? Just to be honest with you. But he's hermetic. And so he wants a free market system, but he wants a controlled free market system. But go figure, it doesn't make sense, but he has objective success, I guess. But anyway, his goal is to make a new world by changing history. And changing history is a buzzword in Marxism, too, because Marx wanted to reach the end of history, so you reach into a new collectivist age. History by the usages of dialectical and alchemy methods. Soros's ideas of changing history, he wants to change history, involves plunging society into chaos by funding things that destabilize communities, cities, governments, economies, and people's lives, culture, social norms. Basically, you have to burn the existing system of society and culture of any nation to the ground by creating both crisis and mixing it in with a lot of chaos. In this manner, you produce a population, a state of mass psychosis. In other words, you create in a population the state of mass psychosis that's needed to control the population, to be easily surveilled and tracked and monitored so they don't complain about it because they're so paranoid. And so that you become easy prey to be dominated and controlled. Mass formation psychosis is another term. It's simply brainwashing people. It is summed up like this: the beatings stop when you comply. We'll stop name calling you until you comply. If you open up all your rooms to all the illegal aliens in your house, the beatings will stop. We'll stop calling you names. And you'll pay for your sins by doing that. You learn group love and to embrace people, and you'll become a collectivist. You'll be a true communist, yeah, true fascist. With a beating stop when you comply. By this method, one brings about a new order, so that the people are driven by chaos and basically George Soros works chaos in ways favorable to their program, their operational success, to reshape the mind of man into something that in the mind of man was never meant to be: collectivist. Okay, so you can say this is a mental alchemy that he's doing, and all this is based on the alchemy that's based on Hermetic principles. Instead of putting the divine spark inside of mankind to bring man together in this collectivist hive, it is to create a brave new collectivist trained world, an open collectivist society. Actually, there's no difference, but rather in degrees only. Instead of putting the shards of God, you're putting the shards back together, you're putting humanity back together to make a brave new world. And so what happened? What did Joe Biden give him? What did Joe Biden give him? Let me read it to you again. He was given, what was it called? The Presidential Medal of Freedom by Joe Biden for creating a just and fair societies, by creating chaos and riots like the George Floyd stuff and the anarchist. This is the old paganism storyline. It connects right back. And it does. The young gods rise up and overthrow the old gods. They recreate society and the world in their image and likeness and destroy the old gods' image and likeness. As I shared just yesterday, all occult roads lead to the center. The Mesopotamian pagan religion, old gods are destroyed in their system, and the new gods put a new system in. They do it through Gnosticism and Hermeticism, through the dark arts, sorcery, witchcraft, spell casting. They use these people as cannon fodder for this larger purpose. And everything connects back to theosophy, because theosophy is favorable to all forms of totalitarianism. And they want to create a system in the world that will bring this being back known as the Master Jesus, or the Antichrist, to rule the world. So I'm just kind of showing you how some of these people at the top think in their own words. Just by one quote I could go through. He wrote several books, and I can go through them. And I tried to read some of his books, and I just can't. I mean, it just drives me crazy. So I go and look at AZ quotes, and that's where I found this one. So that's where I found that quote, and others in there I could have used too. It just brings it out without reading a whole bunch of garbage before you get there. And plus, it also makes you mad when you read it because you realize this guy's a hermeticist. He's using financial alchemy to create a brave new world. And he got a medal of freedom to create a fair and just society, an open society. Yeah, how's the open borders working for you? How many know who Laken Riley was? Did the open borders work so well for her? No. But you can't look at that. That's truth. The larger operational goals that make everybody collectivist, put mass psychosis in you, make you crazy, so you submit. And they have this brave new perfect world, 15-minute cities, everything else. This is the road to the Antichrist, I should say. So that's another thing that's going on that you're seeing in the world, and other strange things. So what are the other strange things? Because that's the title of this, is Other Strange Things. There are very strange things going on in the world right now. There was some videos that came out, as well as some writings that came out, that the AI right now currently cannot become sentient. In other words, can't think on its own. However, by the year 2027, that begins to change. They're predicting that by the year 2027, the AI will become more sentient in certain areas and fields of study. And I don't think I put these videos. I didn't put these things from MIT in there. The AI model deciphers code in proteins. Okay, where's that one? Oh, in MIT News, current edition, in an article, it's called Creating Common Language in the Scientific Community. So AI will create a common language in the scientific community so they can all communicate with each other scientifically for advancement and the betterment of society, and betterment of humanity, so to speak. But the idea is that there's going to be a common AI language that will go across. If I speak English and you speak some Swahili or something, and we don't know each other's language, but you use this algorithm, you can talk to each other. That's being developed. It's in a scientific way. So all the scientific data is put into the super AI, and you have a super brain that can begin to think. They're also putting into the AI philosophies, all the philosophers in there, and they're training the AI to think. They say, oh, they haven't got that far yet. But when you put a couple of robots together a while back, couple years ago, they were planning on bumping off humanity, and they started communicating with each other, and they had to shut them down. Remember that? So what happens if that happens to the supercomputers? And several countries get together through this scientific thing, and they start talking to each other. We are pretty close to advancing pretty rapidly toward the end times. We see all the systems in place being placed right now for a government to arise to control a large segment of the world, just like the Bible prophecy teaches. It's not going to control all the world, but a large segment of it. And it ain't going to be pretty. And you got people in power who really want this, who really believe it. And if their religious beliefs were actually known, they'd be laughed and ran out of town. That's why you got to pray to expose them. And so I find it interesting that the AI is doing. That's another strange thing. It'll possibly be sentient, think on its own by the year 2027 or maybe 2032, in that time frame, somewhere around there. And that's quite frightening. That means they can censor you, they can do things, and And one of the AI was chat box is taking out algorithms so they don't uh, ax you for saying or censor you anymore because of what Donald Trump is doing and Elon Musk through Doge exposing this stuff and get rid of censorship. And so there's and MIT people and the tech people have to go in there and fix chat GPI, whatever you call it, so it doesn't censor certain speech. Or you getting like you typing something or you're reading something and you say it online and suddenly you lose your YouTube channel or you're hit with a strike because you failed community standards, enough strikes that remove you. The beatings will continue until you comply with a narrative. There you go. Good way to put it. So they're getting rid of those algorithms. But if you have an AI system that's sentient and can think on its own with all the philosophical jargon, it might pick one over another. And and who programs it? Most of them are left wingers too. You can see where that's going. So anyway, I just thought that was another strange thing happening in the world. Another thing is the UFOs or the UAPs, UAPs, whatever. I like UFOs better. They're real. There was something that came out, and I forgot to copy the date down and the article. But it came out that in the 50s or was it early 60s, they had two entities uh, from a UFO crash, and that turned out to be real. And they suddenly disappeared. And they kind of like vanished, and people witnessed them and saw them, and they're coming out. And that story was coming out to be true. So that's pretty weird. That's one of those strange things. And all of a sudden, now I don't see anything about it. And we found out that a lot of these drones that people were seeing were test aircraft because the military is testing drones. So trying to up the Chinese because the Chinese are the top line drone makers. They have already developed flying cars, um, different things and stuff like that. So that's what we witnessed. And as for the orbs that people saw, and I saw one, can't explain them. Nobody knows what they are. They must be interdimensional beings, in my personal opinion, watchers, angels, or whatever, and nobody can explain them. Haven't had a logical explanation for those yet. They come, go, disappeared, and they move around real fast. Okay. So we have extraterrestrial vehicles. We have the UFO exposure is happening, and then there's Project Bluebeam. Is this all part of an elaborate thing that we're under an alien attack or something so they can declare martial law? I don't know. You hear all kinds of things on the internet. You just put your ideas down there, whatever you think. But I just thought that was interesting. There's more and more stuff about UFOs coming out and they're not aliens, but actually they're interdimensional beings. And it's almost like they have some type of protective suit on so they can interact in this existence. What it seems to be that's coming out as well. Anything else that's interesting? Oh, I forgot that. What was that other thing I was going to talk about? Though I should have wrote that down. Oh wow, I can't remember what it was. Had to do with um, cryptoids, and cryptoids. In these, they're beginning to uncover and take photographs of strange things happening. And these are real videos happening, real people, and encounters with Bigfoot-like creatures and stuff like that are becoming more prevalent. And things like that are happening too. And, whatever you think about that is strange. These cryptids seem to be coming out, and skinwalkers too. People are beginning to see more of these things. and documenting them. Too much to discount right away. There's no strange things that you're seeing happen. Um, and Jennifer says this: I had a so-called orb, looked like a star that tried to get me to engage with it, moves around playfully. Felt like God told me to rebuke it and ignore it. That happened within the last month. And I did the same thing to one I saw. It stayed there. It bounced around, but I jiggled my camera to try to match its movements, and I messed it up. I would have kept the camera signal. You would have seen it go back and forth. It's almost a triangular type shape, kind of real quick. But my hand, I blew the shot on that. It was just too, my film was too jerky. But anyway, that's when I rebuked it and all that. And that stayed there in the same spot for an hour and a half as the stars and Saturn, Saturn aligned, would go right by it. And the planets, they're lined up at that time, were there, where Mars was where it's at, and so was Venus. And above Mars and Venus area in that quadrant at that time of when I saw that, there was a red flashing dot. I couldn't capture it on my camera because it was moving around. It was going like this in the same pattern, and it was fun. You can see it flicker and keep in the same pattern, and couldn't get a picture of that. I saw several of these things that were too far away to get, but I did get that one, and nobody knows. I think they're fallen watchers myself, fallen angels, in my personal opinion. But you don't have to agree with me, and that's okay. And someone asked me, the small grays, are they demons? I don't think so, Brian. Okay, what do you think in Marvax they are? I think they're some type of interdimensional beings. They probably are demons. They could be fallen watchers. They'd be fallen angels for all I know. We don't really know. But they remind me of some of the things I saw in hell. But in hell, they're a little more hideous than what these things look like. Um, and Aleister Crowley, his spirit guide, looks similar to a gray, but very similar to things I saw in hell too. But the eyes were bigger and the mouth is a lot different. But anyway, more hideous looking. But anyway, that's just anybody, just say what you got to say. I don't know. Um, they could be demons. They could be fallen watchers. They could be some type of interdimensional being that we don't know about. Okay, then and Jennifer says, yes, exactly. It moves around to get attention and seek interaction is what I assumed it wanted, like demons do when they want to be invited. Yeah, I wasn't inviting the thing. I was rebuking it, and it started acting funny. First, I thought it was rejoicing, but then I realized the thing was getting agitated. I wasn't entertaining it. I walked back in, I watched it, drove to my brother-in-law's house, came back, and it's still in the same place. Then went back out to check again. It was gone. Clear sky, stars out. It's gone. So, yeah. And about the grays, yes, with smaller eyes on his. Yep. It says, why are they popping up now so much? And he goes on and says, what about the crazy fog? Nuts, looks like snow. Okay, we'll talk about, that's another strange thing. Why are they popping up now so much? I think it's because they knew that there was a planetary alignment in 2025. So that's why Alice Bailey in the occult world thought year 2025 would be the externalization of the hierarchy. The interdimensional beings coming back to Earth are the fallen watchers, the planetary logos, the logos of the seven planetary spirits, which we know as the Akapalu are the seven sages of civilization, who are the seven spirits sent by God to civilize humanity. They were the leaders. And the young gods, okay? The one, so that's the story of that. That's why they're, in my opinion, why they're popping up so much. This is 2025, so why not? We'll see if it continues. We don't know. Maybe we'll restrain it and nothing will happen. What about the crazy fog? That's another strange thing that has come in the world, and I don't know too much about it. I saw it on the news. I never saw it personally, but the fog, it looked like snow and flakes floating around in it. I can't explain that. And I saw it just didn't look right. And people got headaches, and some of them felt kind of sick. It sounds like a chemical being sprayed. I'm not sure about this, but someone could correct me. But I think Donald Trump stopped the chemtrails from being sprayed because they're trying to control the weather and whatever they're doing. They try to stop this stuff, what they're doing. They're trying to cool the planet down to create mass famine. But anyway, so they're messing with stuff they shouldn't be messing with. So I think the crazy fog is probably some type of chemical agent that was used and it began to collect. And I think they got caught. And now they just call it a fog and they dropped it. And you probably won't see it. But if you do see it, let me know. Could be in other countries happening. I don't know. And the sky feels extra polluted. It does. It does. I know in Colorado we have an inversion where I live and it gets very polluted, but I notice that I'm irritated. My eyes are more irritated and I sneeze a lot more when I shouldn't be sneezing. And it's not allergy season. It's winter time. And why am I sneezing? I don't have a cold or nothing. And I go outside. Achoo, achoo. What is this? There's no pollen out there. It's snowing. So yeah, there's extra pollution out there, whatever they're in the sky they're doing. So we don't know. What's certain is these people don't think like normal human beings. I don't think they really are very empathetic, and they lack understanding and ability to get along with people, and they just want to control everything. That's my personal opinion, and they'll stop at nothing and use any means possible to do it. And so George Soros is a very dangerous guy. So is his son, and they need to be held accountable. I doubt if they will, because of all I hope Trump does something with that. They're responsible for a lot of death and destruction, and they hide behind a lot of people in order to do stuff. But yeah, so it's an amazing thing. It is amazing. See what these people do. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Any other questions before I go ahead and close this out? There are a lot of strange things going on. I saw that. Where was that? I saw that earlier. What did I see? Okay, I don't see this. Don't see it. Okay, don't see it. Thought I saw it, but anyway, other strange things. I just thought the videos that I saw of strange occurrences was interesting. Of people reporting seeing these strange beings, animal-like things and stuff. They call them cryptoids. I just thought that was very interesting. There's more of them, and more that cannot be explained. They're not fake videos, and so there's a lot more of that coming out. Okay, and Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. I have a Rumble video I could share with you. Yeah, just send it to me via email. I'll look at it, and it probably explains some things. Rumble has some good stuff on there that explains some of the stuff as well. So sure, send it my way. Just send it to the email. I'll put that up there on the screen here shortly. And I'll just put it up here for you. Just give it to my email address right there on the screen, Jennifer. bwmelvin1@gmail.com. or Brian Melvin #1 at AOL.com. Either one of those will work. So you can just do that real quick, because yeah, some people are sending me some videos, and some interesting ones too. That's why I want to talk about strange things. And maybe another night I'll compile a list of strange things and keep it in order. And some of them I forgot to mention. But, oh, a HARP, DARPA, and, where they're sending electronic frequencies, low-level frequencies into the atmosphere, because there's a war to control the weather. And China's using it, Western world's using it. And so that's really not anything strange or new. It's been there for some time. So yeah, but I just thought the Kennedy. We'll kind of conclude this with the Kennedy um, thing. Okay, and Norma says this. I have a lot of questions, but we should Zoom in a group, maybe. Yeah, maybe I should Zoom in some sort of group. Let me think. What would be a good day? If people are, I don't know where you guys are from. I'm in Mountain Time, Colorado time. I'll put everything on Eastern time, but Eastern time zone. So people kind of let me know what's a good time to set up a Zoom call and who would like to be on it. Again, send me an email. I'll just put that back up there, and any one of those emails under email or PayPal, any one of those will work. Just write it down real quick, take a picture of it on your phone, and it'll all be good. That's what it, and we can talk about a Zoom call. So, and again, I'll go and kind of end it too. This is my contact information, and I'm trying, thank you for everybody who's been donating and sending things. That is a blessing. I really appreciate that. And I don't have time to respond to everybody who sends like I used to. I just don't have the time or the resources. So forgive me of that. And so thank you. And the PayPal information's there. And my 2 books, Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion, and Heaven Beckons. My 2 books. If you want to support what I do, it's great. If not, that's okay too. Just note that I do not solicit funds. I don't knock on your door. I don't call, and I don't send emails out trying to get money from you. And that's not me if that happens. So Norma, you are on Arizona time. I see. So I can't remember Arizona. Whoops. I thought I got rid of that. Okay. There we go. I thought I gotta remember Arizona time, Mountain time, or is it California time? I can't remember. Just can't remember what time is it there. So I'll look it up. Yeah. If you want to do that, let me know, and I can set up a Zoom call and have a few people together, and we can just talk, whatever, and more freely. Okay? Okay, cool. God bless you all. Shalom. Yeah, God bless you all, and hope you enjoyed this impromptu talk about different strange subject matters and stuff, and I hope you got something good out of it. What fascinates me, I grew up in the here's another one. Yes, we don't move time. Yeah, you guys don't. I got to figure out time Arizona is. But I just find it fascinating about the Kennedy thing because I got the Warren report, the condensed version of it, the final draft. It's a real thick book, hardback. It's real thick. I can't remember. It could be a 400, 500, 600 pages. It's a lot there, and it's only what they want you to know. And so yeah. I never really liked it. I thought it was kind of some things just don't jive in it. And so anyway, I've been fascinated by that and the Kennedy, why was he assassinated? And a lot of things that need to be answered. And hopefully releasing this stuff and declassifying it So there's no black ink on it. Expose it all. That's what needs to be, complete exposure, and find out what the truth is. Well, at least we do know there were 2 gunmen involved, which makes a conspiracy. And it was an accident with a Secret Service agent car jerked forward, like someone has reported quite a while ago. And that was the last one that actually made sense. So anyway, that's just, I always find it fascinating. And when I found out, and also included in the description, James Lindsay's talk on George Soros and all that. You can read about the alchemy of George Soros. And he does a far better job than I can on it. I just given you the bullet points on it. But he is a hermetic alchemist. I don't know. I mean, mixed in with a socialist Marxist mindset. He's not a Marxist. He's not a Marxist. You could more fascist than Marxist, but he believes in a free market system that he can control. So it's really not a free market. So, and he has some quotes in there about Keynesian economics. In a lot of his writings, he has stuff about Keynesian economics. And I should have put that down there. It's kind of fascinating to see those quotes, but probably boring for some people. But he's not a good dude, nor is his organization and his foundation, the Tides Foundation, and those involved in it in the upper echelons are up to no good. Just need to be aware of it. And it's interesting to see that Bible prophecy is coming to pass in degrees and levels I never thought I'd see. And good that we have a reprieve with Trump. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Again, if you want to contact me, help me out, send a donation or whatever, all the information's there. My 2 books, Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion, and Heaven Beckons, is all on the screen. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I only wanted to do an hour, and I'm almost 2 hours into it. But anyway, I'm sorry, folks, for it's so long. Take your time watching my videos. With that, you guys be blessed.